In hand, Lewiston police searching a Somali-owned business on Lisbon Street.
We're told the search at the Little Mogadishu store is part of a lengthy fraud investigation. Bonnie Bishop reports from outside the store.
We just went into the store a little bit ago to find out more information about what happened earlier this morning, but we're still looking for some more answers. We've been told the search at the store is part of a fraud investigation and that police are working with the Department of Agriculture. Now, police would not provide any other details, but stress it has nothing to do with immigration enforcement. We've reached out to the courts, but nothing has been filed. When we were at the store, we did ask the owners if they were able to talk with us on camera. They declined, but did tell us that they're only accepting cash right now and the store is open. In Lewiston, I'm Bonnie Bishop for Maine.
Hey, welcome back to Freedom Insight. Today, a Maine fraud scandal is blowing up, and Governor Janet Mills is, according to the clip, nowhere to be found. Police are shown with a warrant in hand, searching a business on Lisbon Street in Lewiston, part of a long investigation. Then the story turns exposed. Nearly $2 million went to 29 nonprofits from the October 2023 shooting fund, money meant for victims' families. Look, reporters say courts show nothing has been filed, while Maine DHHS says it takes program integrity seriously. Is this a cover-up or the first sign of a crackdown with real fallout?
It's going on in Maine, too, and residents there are demanding answers. Some members of the community, in fact, calling on the DOJ to investigate possible fraud within the Lewiston Shooting Fund, as we learn that nearly $2 million went to 29 different nonprofits since the October 2023 shooting left a lot of Americans dead. That money was supposed to go directly to them. And get this, some of those nonprofits only serve the immigrant community, like Gateway Community Services. Now, you should know, prior to this, Gateway was accused of misusing Medicaid funds and was recently visited by Homeland Security investigators.
With all of this, here's what's going on in Maine in plain English. Police in Lewiston executed a search with a warrant at a Somali-owned business on Lisbon Street, tied to a fraud investigation. At the same time, there are serious questions about money connected to the Lewiston shooting victims. Reporting in the transcript says nearly $2 million went to 29 nonprofits, even though the fund was supposed to help victims and families. People are asking who approved it, where did it go, and why is the governor refusing to address it? If public money is being steered the wrong way, normal families pay twice, first in taxes, then again in lost trust. Because when officials dodge questions, the system stops working for the people it's meant to serve. In a second, you're going to hear the local reporting lay out the warrant search in the early details, including what authorities will and won't say yet, and one key fact that should make every taxpayer sit up straight.
The Maine Wire senior reporter, John Featherston. John, these details are shocking, and I think a lot of us watched Nick Shirley and we thought, oh, wow, what's happening in Minnesota? But it's happening in your state as well?
Maine is rampant with fraud. President Trump was right. The nonprofit scandals. You know, the Lewiston shooting that happened was Maine's greatest tragedy.
Yes.
19 people tragically died. But this scandal of the nonprofits taking $1.9 million worth of that money, and I have visited every organization that you put up on the screen and said, just tell me what you did with the money. I'm not here to question why you got the money, which is wrong, but I just want to know what you did with the money. And it's turned into, well, you're a racist for asking, get out of here, you know, how dare you ask these questions?
So that's the baseline, a search tied to a fraud probe. And the transcript says police were working with the Department of Agriculture while stressing it was nothing to do with immigration enforcement. That matters because it points to an alleged financial scheme, not a paperwork issue. You also heard the figure that really hits the stomach, nearly $2 million to 29 nonprofits tied to the aftermath of a mass shooting, even though the stated purpose was direct help for victims and families. If that reporting is accurate, the moral problem is obvious. Tragedy money is not a piggy bank for connected organizations. And if leaders can't answer simple questions about where the dollars went, people are going to assume the worst, because silence is never neutral in a situation like this. Now listen closely to the next segment. You're going to hear a reporter describe what happens when he goes organization by organization and asks a basic question. What did you do with the money? And how the political class responds when citizens demand receipts.
So, you know, the cover-up is just as bad as the crime is. And David Jones, a Republican candidate for governor, has started an online petition to ask the DOJ and Pam Bondi to come in and do an investigation. And Amy Sussman, who is truly an angel walking among us here on Earth, is an aunt of a victim who died in the shooting on the day that he got his college diploma. She has led this charge. She has reached out to Governor Janet Mills, as have I multiple times. Governor Mills won't talk about this subject. She literally runs and tries to avoid me from this. Former Governor Paul LePage, who is also now running for Congress, reached out to the governor and said, hey, let's work together on this. Governor Mills rejected that offer with her. This is a huge cover-up.
That section is the part the corporate press usually forgets to emphasize. Accountability isn't racism, it's citizenship. According to the transcript, the reporter says he visited every group listed and asked what the funds were used for, and got hostility instead of answers. You also heard names and actions that are concrete, a petition asking the DOJ and Pam Bondi to investigate, and a victim's aunt leading the push for transparency. That's not online gossip. That's people closest to the harm demanding the state stop stonewalling. And notice the pattern described. When questions get uncomfortable, the system tries to shame the questioner instead of producing documents. That's how public trust gets burned to the ground. If the money truly went where it shouldn't have, the fix is simple in concept. Audits, referrals, prosecutions where warranted, and clawbacks if funds were misdirected. If the money was proper, then prove it. Itemized spending, contracts, deliverables, and a clear explanation for why those nonprofits qualified. Either way, the public deserves daylight. Now, about the title claim, Janet Mills goes to jail. Nothing in the transcript you provided confirms she's been arrested or jailed. What it does show repeatedly is an allegation that she's avoiding the topic, plus calls for outside investigation, plus an active law enforcement search tied to a fraud case in the same environment. So here's the responsible way to say it. If investigators uncover a deliberate scheme and any officials knowingly helped it, that's when criminal exposure becomes real. Until then, it's alleged, reported, and under scrutiny. And that is still a massive story because it's about victims, taxpayers, and whether government protects its own first.
Maine's Department of Health and Human Services says it takes Maine Care program integrity and fraud prevention very seriously. State leaders have accused DHHS of not doing enough to investigate and prevent potential health care fraud. The Health and Human Services Committee met today to discuss maintaining accountability within the state's public health care system following recent allegations of fraud. The DHHS commissioner says the department has multiple procedures in place to investigate fraud and ensure all programs are properly funded.
Every dollar we manage represents a commitment to ensure funds are used lawfully, effectively, and in direct support of the programs and people they are intended to serve. Given recent public interest in the handling of fraud allegations within publicly funded programs, it is important to share information about the actions that the department takes.
DHHS members from different departments echoed the commissioner's statement on safeguarding state-funded programs, adding that their referrals of fraud are very low.
Also, pay attention to the institutional talking points near the end of the transcript. You hear state officials say they take program integrity and fraud prevention very seriously, and that referrals are very low. Fine, but we take it seriously as not evidence. Referrals are low can mean everything is clean, or it can mean nobody is looking hard enough, or it can mean the gatekeepers don't want a paper trail. The way you settle that isn't with slogans,